Now the population crisis in your capital city. 50,000 people have moved out in the past 50 years. I had the chance to sit down with the president of the National Urban League, Mark Morial, about his ideas for revitalizing Hartford, New Haven, and other cities. And Mr. Morial is with us right now. Good to see you on the program.
It's great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Hartford.
Good to be in Hartford.
Give me your impressions of the capital city.
Well, Hartford's a great American city with incredibly robust history. But like many major American cities, it's a city experiencing a transformation, and a city which has been battered by the recession. The unemployment rate here in Hartford and in Connecticut and in New England in some places may be worse than the national average, but it matches the problems of the country. We spent this past week in New England doing a New England jobs tour. So we were in Boston and Springfield and Providence and Hartford and then in southern Connecticut to learn and listen, but also to promote some of our ideas about how you can rebuild urban jobs.
Hartford's not quite Detroit, but it's lost 50,000 people. It's a big chunk of population since 1970. How do you get people to move back?
Well, it's tough. People have been gravitating to the Sun Belt, to the south and the west. They've been probably going where jobs are, but maybe also where warmer weather is. I think that you get people to come back by quality of life, by jobs, by being an attractive place for people to live. But I also think that some cities have to learn to live a little smaller. The idea that you're going to rebuild the population of the baby boom generation of the baby boom years may not be realistic, and I urge communities to work on growing their population, but to grow their economic base, grow your jobs base so that you have jobs for the people who are there. So
you're here to check out Hartford and New Haven. You brought here by the Metro Hartford Alliance with a 12-point plan. What is that? Yeah, and it was Metro Hartford Alliance in conjunction with and in collaboration with the Hartford Urban League, now headed by Adrian Cochran.
Let me tell you about the 12-point plan. The 12-point plan is our way of saying, look, economic revival is not going to be serendipitous. It's not going to happen by itself. We've got to do some very intentional, specific, directed things. So a couple of ideas, and people could go to IamEmpowered.com or NUL.org to look at the whole plan. But let me tell you, public-private partnerships that focus on energy jobs, broadband jobs, infrastructure jobs, those are the kinds of things we need. Focus on youth and young adults. Summer jobs for youth, more specific, directed, and intentional job training programs for adults, particularly adults who may have dropped out of the workforce, adults who may not have finished high school on time. Thirdly, focus on targeting. We need more targeted efforts that are targeted to bring jobs to the urban community. One idea in our plan is the idea of green empowerment zones. Why should we allow all of the green industries to go abroad? Why not incent them to locate in urban communities where we can put people back to work? So we've got a wide variety of ideas. It's about the public sector working with the private sector, working with the nonprofit sector. The Urban League here in Connecticut, in both Hartford and in southern Connecticut, we employ people who help people find work. We do job training. We do after-school programs. We are a part of the solution here in Connecticut and all across the nation.
How does this urban homesteading work exactly?
That's a great, the notion is that we've got a large inventory of foreclosed houses all across the nation, but in urban communities. Why not assemble those foreclosed houses and give people an opportunity to purchase them if they will fix them up and live in them at low cost? In other words, let's put them back into commerce. Let's not let them sit. Let's not let us not wait until somehow some fairy comes along, some magic man comes along and rescues these homes. Let's use it and incent people to live in communities by providing them with an opportunity to purchase them for cheap, fix them up, and live in them. We've got to do some creative things. We've got to do some innovative things. We've also got to not be trapped in the thinking of the past as we do the kinds of things we need to rebuild the economies of urban communities.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Baltimore did this like 25 years ago, and they got
Baltimore had
some of these
incredible program, and many communities have done it, and we think it ought to be done on a local basis, but it ought to be a national initiative.
Is there money for that right now, or are you just banking on?
I think there's money. Let me tell you something. I think what you're talking about doing is redirecting some of the money, refocusing some of our housing monies. In many respects, if you give people an opportunity to buy a house for cheap, if you will, they are going to be able to borrow money to do it if it's going to be their home. Let's get creative. I mean, I think we're talking about, with urban homesteading, with green empowerment zones, we're talking about investing in a way that's going to have a return for communities.
Let's talk about the Urban League of Greater Hartford. How would you assess the job they've done at improving the lives of people here?
They've done a good job, and what I'm most excited about is new leadership. Adrienne Cochran is new to town. She's been here less than a year. She's a tried and true Urban League executive, having worked in the Urban League of Broward County in Florida and also an Urban League affiliate out in Illinois. I think she's retooling the staff, retooling the board, building new relationships. We've been here since 1964. We've had a powerful legacy with some bumps along the way. But I'm confident that Adrienne is the leader we need at this time in the history of the Hartford Urban League.
I want to talk politics a little bit. It is a political show after all, so I wanted to get your opinion on a couple of things. In this age of Obama, people expected to see more diversity in some of the political races, but we're not seeing that quite yet. Why do you think that is?
Running for office is very difficult. It's very expensive. It's hard to do. It takes a whole lot of oomph and a whole lot of guts. But I do think you've got emerging personalities. One part of politics that people don't pay enough attention to is what's happening at the state and local level. And I think Obama's election has inspired people to run for state house, for city council, for mayors of American cities, big and small, for county commissions and county councils. You see a lot of activity at the local level. The national level, particularly the Senate, running for president, even running for Congress, is highly expensive, which means it takes a lot of oomph, it takes a lot of people, it takes a big commitment in order to do that. So that in and of itself will weed people out. But let's be candid. The number of African Americans and Latinos who are serving in the Congress of the United States today is at record numbers. It reflects the changing scope of the nation. But many of them represent districts that are very diverse, have white, have black, have Latino constituents in it. I think we're seeing a change in our politics that's making the ranks of elected officials a lot more representative of our communities and of the nation.
Mark Morial, president of the National Urban League. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.